Hey guys, I'm Dave, and starting today, a series of really interesting videos will be coming your way. Every day, I'll try to release an analysis on the Nasdaq in the morning, so these videos will come out early in the morning, around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I'll give you a detailed analysis of the chart and point out areas of confluence for morning trades on NQ. Later on, we'll also try to include the options zones. We'll calculate the options zone after 9 o'clock in the morning, so when we add these new confluences, the video will come out a little later. So let's not waste any time, let's go straight to the chart and see what the Nasdaq might do today. Here we are right away on the chart, guys. Today is Tuesday, August 19th, and let's go straight to the chart. As you can see, this is a 4-hour chart, and for several days now, in my opinion, the price has been accumulating to the downside. When they decide to make a move, it could be significant, even today, to reach the first two zones, okay? Now, let's see what's holding down the short side. So, the price is being held down by this 4-hour fair value gap. Let's go back again to the weekly liquidity at this level, and the weekly liquidity at this other one, and we can clearly see how the price is still accumulating to the downside. Right now, the price is being held down by this 4-hour fair value gap, which hasn't been broken yet but has been respected for the time being. So, we'll go long the moment we break through it, and when we do, the move will probably look something like this, okay? So, the goal is definitely to target the zones or options above. As long as this 4-hour fair value gap isn't broken, we can't know for sure. We'll see how things develop throughout the day. Then let's move on, let's switch to the 4-hour chart. There's nothing else to point out here. Let's switch to the 1-hour chart and look for liquidity, okay? So, we're going after the daily liquidity at this level, which is yesterday's low, because Friday's was already taken, remember that, right? That was this one here, we took it yesterday afternoon. Now let's target the highs, because the highs are... Technically, the highs have already been taken. Yeah, it took them right at midnight. We'll take a closer look to see if it actually grabbed the daily liquidity, or if not, we'll mark it at this level here, okay? So, on the 1-hour chart, we can see that the chart is basically an accumulation, at its core. We have a small hourly fair value gap here on the short side, which we'll mark, but basically, as I've already told you, until we break through this 4-hour fair value gap, for now we're just accumulating. We've left the daily liquidity untouched. We've had a nice little engulfing candle on the 1 hour. It's not perfect because it didn't grab liquidity before moving, but it's not too bad either. Let's move to the 15-minute chart and mark the Asian session and everything else. So, the low of the Asian session would be this one, so the low has been taken, no problem. As for the high of the Asian session, for now I'd mark, what should we mark? I would go ahead and mark this one here. Technically speaking, otherwise the truly correct and accurate Asian trading session would undoubtedly be this particular one in guys, because from midnight all the way to 6 in the morning, specifically from 2 to 20, this would represent the absolute high point right here, clearly indicating a significant peak in activity during that precise time frame. So, we could also just take this one for now, okay? It's not ideal, guys, because after all, we saw what happened at midnight, right? It immediately created this high right here exactly at midnight, and then made this really strong drop. So for now, let's stick with this one at 2 o'clock, where we actually have to mitigate this hourly fair value gap, so the price could move into this area, not mitigate the 4-hour fair value gap yet, and maybe even try for another short continuation. We have various dynamic liquidities, and we also have a 15-minute fair value gap here that's also driving the short. So technically, where could the price head now? It could go for the Asian session, mitigate the fair value, and then possibly come back down. These are really quite unusual days, okay? It's a bit hard to figure out the movements. We also have a double bottom here, which we call London. It's pretty tough because there's no volatility. We're in a kind of accumulation phase, a bit more drawn out as you can see, since it's a downward accumulation, but the chart is struggling a bit, okay? Probably when things get going, so when we break through this fair value, we'll really go and reach much higher areas, okay? Now let's look at an example of trades that could be taken. It's almost 10 o'clock, so let's switch to the 5-minute chart, which is basically our trading chart. We can take a look at how this movement, which we're currently interested in, is this one, from where we made a lower low. So technically, we're still short. What could the price do? The first trade I would consider taking wouldn't be a long, but rather a short from this level, okay? It depends on what time it gets there, if it even gets there at all, but thinking about taking a short from this area for a continuation down to the daily liquidity, or maybe even a little bit lower, isn't a bad idea. If we manage to take a short at this level, we would be grabbing this dynamic liquidity, mitigating this hourly fair value gap, and mitigating this 15-minute fair value gap as well. So taking a short from this level wouldn't be bad, where we could also potentially take a partial at the midnight level. The second trade is if the accumulation continues, okay? So logically, if it doesn't start moving up now and does something like this, I would actually look at how it behaves around the daily liquidity to possibly take a long, aiming to mitigate this area. These are very difficult trades, guys. They're definitely not easy, so really be very careful. Here too, it's the usual setup if it shows up. So if the accumulation continues, let's also try to see if a PO3 forms as the accumulation goes on, because going long then wouldn't be bad at all. Of course, I would want the daily liquidity in this area, so let's always wait for our setup. If it takes off long, guys, and doesn't give us an entry, unfortunately we're going to miss out on these moves. We're going to miss it, and then we'll see in the afternoon if it gives us any reason to enter on the continuation to the upside. But obviously, in the morning, since it's 10 in the morning, trying to catch a long that's probably already taken off if it goes is tough, okay? So let's leave the long alone, and at the same time, if the short starts and does something like that, we have to let that go too, guys. As you know, we always wait for liquidity grabs, areas of possible reversal, or at least where the market might react so we can take a trade. So for now, guys, these are the trades. Let's lower to 15 minutes for a second so we can look at the option zones that I've extended for you. Now let's map them out to also understand, if needed, how you could use the option zone. The ones I like the most right now, guys, are these two long positions. Why do I say that? Because right now the market has rejected the lows. If it has enough strength to, make a reversal, because you see, liquidity was taken, it moved, liquidity was taken again and it moved, but we didn't manage to make new lows. So technically, either it tries again now or we'll go and get them. Logically, how are we going to use the options zone? If it goes long, without taking the liquidity, we can't take it, so we'll eventually try a short from this level. It would be different if the trade we had chosen for the short could give us an entry at this level. In that case, we could also take another partial at the daily liquidity and wait for our options zone. If we can't manage to take the short hit, guys, as always, we look for our retracements in the options zones. For now, guys, I'd let this one go, okay? If a strong long move starts, we'll get here too, guys, because as you can see, this here is all dynamic liquidity, so when the price moves, it really moves, okay? We could actually reach this level too, and even if we get here, we just wait for our usual setups, and this would still be our entry point. Now I'm going to give you both the option zones for Nasdaq and the option zones for SP. Let's start with call 2, but higher one, which goes from 24,010 to 23,990. The second one, actually the first, goes from 23,910 to 23,890. Now let's move on to the puts. The first put is at 23,690, 23,670. And the last one, which is on the weekly liquidity, is really nice too, guys. We'll be between 23,590 and 23,570. Now that we've gone over the movements, let's do a quick summary of the possible trades for the morning, okay? We're going to take. Of course, now it's already a bit late in the morning and the trades might have already started, but in any case, the most interesting trade could be the short. A short starting, from this level, then taking a partial here, another partial here, and another partial here. If, on the other hand, the price, let me show you in another color, if the price starts to drop, we'll wait for the daily liquidity or possibly the options area at this level, because this could finally be the last liquidity grab before a move up. Then we'd look to take a partial at the midnight level, a partial at the fair value gap in this area, another partial, and possibly keep our usual small runner to target the options area. As always, how do we trade the options areas? The moment price reaches them and we see a reaction, we look to take reversals, okay? Now let's move on to SP. Let's take a look at the options areas. I'm not going to do an analysis on SP because I don't trade it. We're going to mark out take our options areas, and as you can see, here too we have our 4 zones. This long zone here is really nice, the short one a bit less so. SP is a bit more bullish compared to Nasdaq because I see it's almost accepting the price above the mid-rate. If it does accept it, we'll probably see a move like this. Anyway, let's mark out the zones. I've labeled them for you with numbers as well. They go from 6,535 to 6,525. Call 1 goes from 6,490 to 6,480. Put 1 goes from 6,440 to 6,430. And finally, the last put is between 6,390 and 6,380. Alright, that's all for today's video, guys. Please be very careful. The chart looks really bad. We're almost finally at the end of August, just a little bit left, about 10 more days, and then in September, volumes will return to normal. So again, please pay maximum attention. As always, I remind you, if you like our content, any interaction, guys' comments, likes really helps us a lot. For the past 2 days, we've also been posting the options zones. I mentioned the 0 DTE zones, so please help us grow. So that's all for this video. Thanks for stopping by. A big hug from your Dave. See you tomorrow. Bye guys.